many executives are doing that?
Sports besides basketball. Okay. Kind of housed on that side. Yep. Football, soccer,
the old house, White Forest, West Love. Those are.
Yeah, they do, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, they do.
Pretty dang.
Yeah, yeah. So we're gonna have. Actually,
Several classes of one bill, so what they call first therapy and
How are you? Thing, you know, we're starting to expect sports is such a huge field, you know. Other things we have right past medicine, all kinds of.
there.
Go, guys. Hey, good. Yes, sir. How are you, sir?
Hey, let's go.
You get back to where you can.
Yeah, I'll call tomorrow morning.
How are you?
How are you? And they're just getting off the ground.
Ready?
I'd like to call the special city council meeting for May the 12th, 2021 to order, please. Roll call.
Tim,
Here.
Amber,
Here.
Jean,
Here.
Larry,
Here.
Arthur,
Here.
Dawn.
Here.
And if we could please stand for pledge allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Moving down to item number 4, council approval of tonight's agenda.
Motion to approve. Second.
Roll call, please.
Dawn,
Yes.
Larry,
Yes.
Jean,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Arthur,
Yes.
Amber.
Yes.
Moving down to number 5, comments from citizens, although we don't have to allow comments from citizens on special meetings. I do feel obligated that if anybody would like to speak, to please step to the podium, give your name, address, and keep your comments to 3 minutes, please. Seeing none in the audience, James, do we have anybody online that would like to speak?
No, sir.
Thank you. Moving down to item number 6, approval of city council members to waive the 3 reading rule for all ordinances on the agenda.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you.
Second it.
Motion is second. Roll call.
Arthur,
Yes.
Larry,
Yes.
Jean,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Dawn,
Yes.
Amber.
Yes.
Right. Well, council, the reason I brought you all here this evening is one, during our last meeting, we decided to table these projects because of the concerns of the council needing to gather more information. Over this past week, the city administration has absolutely worked its tail off trying to provide documentation, information, allowing all the council members to come and ask any question they want to ask on these projects and to try to make a determination in their own minds of what is best for the city and its growth of the city. One thing I want the council to be aware of, and the number one question that has come to my mind throughout this process is, we take every effort and great strides. I think each and every one of at this table to do what's right for what we think will hold for the citizens of Tontitown, not today and not for tomorrow, but 50 years from now. Because the decisions that this body makes is long-term effects. So I don't disagree with any of you about heartburn that you may have over some of these projects or what we've tried to place, when, where, why, how. We've tried to do as much due diligence as we possibly could by reaching out to our police departments, the men and women that work there, as well as our fire department and all the folks that work and operate out of it, to gather as much information about what they want and what their needs are. But most importantly, what the decisions that you're making here this evening is not decisions that you make about yourself, because each and one of you have an obligation to represent the citizens of Tontitown in your own respective wards. So what you're voting on here tonight is not whether you like a fire station, not whether you like a police station, not whether you like a water line or a sewer line. What you're voting here tonight is to give the opportunity for the citizens of Tontitown to make those decisions. Neither one of us can ultimately say that we're going to build a fire station back here. Neither one of us can say that we're going to put a water line in the ground or build a road anywhere in the city of Tontitown. What bond council has reminded me over and over again is this has to come before a vote of the citizens. So what we've prepared for you tonight, again, is the ballot request that we're putting forward to the citizens of Tontitown. And it's going to be ultimately up to them to decide what is right or what is wrong for the citizens and for the city of Tontitown going forward. So respectfully, I hope that you think about that tonight, that you're allowing your citizens to tell us whether we are correct or incorrect. And I am firmly convinced that even if the citizens vote this down, that this body is still going to come forward each and every month with more better and greater ideas to benefit everybody. So what we've done here tonight is I brought everybody forward for you again here at the table, that if there's any other questions that you have about what we're doing, I don't mind if we stay here till midnight tonight. But I've got bond counsel represented online or on Zoom. I got Mr. Falk from Stevens and Associates, that is the numbers guy. I've even got Mr. Langham here, that is the architect that gave us the figures to tell us where we're at, or where he sees where we're at. Not that this is the magic number that we're going to spend. Also, there was a question last week about the NACA projects, that we have more information about it, that is not as scary as I thought it was going to be. That the doubling of the NACA bill is not going to be doubling of the NACA bill. It's probably going to be 50%, but it's not doubling, which gives me great hope that we can survive it too. So first of all, I'd like to bring up Mr. Langham if I can, because I like to kind of give you guys, since that seems to be the hot topic, but full scope, because he's brought together a presentation to kind of give you an idea of where he's coming from in these projects. Mr. Langham, I give the floor to you, sir.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council. Appreciate this opportunity to present to you and kind of show what we've been tasked with and the progress we've made. And so I'm just going to have a few slides here to share. So essentially, we were trying to identify the program, working with the police department, the fire department, kind of figure out, what kind of spaces they need, how big those spaces need to be for them to work, and then really look at the property at Bandini, just to make sure that size we came up with will fit on that site. And then third, we're just trying to provide some kind of benchmark cost data for comparable projects that, just kind of what we're seeing in the market. We don't have a design yet to estimate from, or for a contractor to estimate from, but just to kind of show what, some other projects, similar facilities. So step one was the program. We identified, basically kind of the major functions for each department are shown here. We looked, the blue text is we were able to identify opportunities to share spaces between the departments. And these are areas that are used, maybe not all the time, but maybe some larger programmatic areas that they can utilize shared spaces to really make the building as efficient as possible, or the program, I guess I should say, as efficient as possible. And so really when we look at those utilized spaces, utilizing some shared space between the two departments, we're able to be around 17,000 square feet is what we're kind of coming up with, which is about 2,500 square feet less than if you did two completely different facilities. And so this is just the first stab at the conceptual site plan, just kind of our second task here to make sure that it fits on the site, what we're looking at as far as the program. So you can kind of see the apparatus bays is shown in the red, and then the police fire facility is the blue building or blue square. You can kind of see the way the fire trucks, they use a lot of the site to maneuver, to kind of come into the back of the facility, back of the apparatus bays. They would exit out of the front, directly onto the street. Kind of some of the driving factors between, I guess some of the cost drivers between the two different departments. Police really will be a kind of a standard office space. There's not really much hardened space or really highly durable space. Now, fire, it's got large open bays. You really want to have durable finishes in your gear area, so you're not, coming back and repairing drywall for the life of the building. You really want to get the durable finishes. You don't want to put block, where you need block, so you're not creating a maintenance thing and issue. And then also just the residential areas, there's more restrooms, so there's more plumbing, there's more FF&E for things like oven, cooktop, laundry. And so this is a project we completed a little over a year ago in Rogers. We did the last fire station number 8. We used it as example because the kind of the program we've come up with is very similar in size and scale to what we've did there in Rogers with 3 apparatus bays. you can kind of see inside the bays, kind of some of the things that drive costs. Like you've got a Plima vent system for the fire truck exhaust. Big, large open spans for the trucks to be able to park, double stack. And then also you've got, gear storage. You've got locker storage. You'll have special large washing machines to wash their gear after they get back from a call. They also live in this building basically when they're not on a call. So you've got a living space with usually have a refrigerator per shift. And then this is a facility we did recently in Bentonville. It was an expansion of their CID building for some office space. The big difference between this facility and your facility is you kind of see the concrete wing on this facility. It had a hardened dispatch center, but here dispatch is done off site, so that won't really be part of this program. But we'll have the office space, and then looking at some of the, spaces we've identified as shared areas potentially is like a training room, which you see there, and a weight room. So it's kind of a similar programmatic element there. And then finally, just looking at some of the benchmark cost data from other projects, this kind of the range we've come up with, kind of looking at what the Rogers station costs, kind of escalating that to today's cost, and then even escalating it beyond, trying to our best good faith effort to escalate that beyond to future. And so shows kind of the construction cost range, idea of a range on the left. Usually that's about 80% of the total project cost. So just divided by 80% to kind of give you a total project cost.
Do we have copies of this? I'm sorry. Do we have copies of this in hard copy?
I do not believe so.
That's all right. I can write down those numbers.
I think you got it in your last packet when we handed out the big sheet.
These are all in this big sheet.
Yeah, that's your bottom numbers
The
that you see.
80%. I know that the pricing is there, but the 80% of total project and all that stuff. And I did some math on that too.
Yeah, it says 80% down there at the bottom.
Yeah.
200.
Now, I did some math last week, John, and I came up with a high end of 278 a square foot. Where am I off on that? I know you can't, here's what I used. I used the construction cost of 3.189 and the total project cost of 3.98731. And maybe I did those backwards. There's a $5 million cost and a $3.9 million cost. I thought you said on the phone this was 6.75. Is that more of a ballpark?
Well, this all is a ballpark.
Okay.
Honestly, just because we're looking at comparable facilities and just trying to make sure that we're kind of within that range.
Sure. Yeah, I just want to make sure I understand the numbers going in, and I thought I did, but I just saw something a little different than I expected. But that's all right.
Yes, sir. And maybe the reason is the so when we did the shared spaces, we put those into kind of the police budget in a way as far as the cost per square foot.
Okay.
So it's not really a direct kind of average, I guess.
Okay.
I tried to take those square footages, put them in with the police, and then put because the fire station, we're kind of looking at comparable projects are a little bit higher per square foot.
Okay. Thanks.
Mayor, Mr. Burris, I think the 6.7 you're referencing.
Oh, that was from you.
That was the number that we
Yeah.
talked about, and that's what's on the ballot, again, to account for cost of
It
issuance.
gives us a
and
little bit of a
reserve.
bump up,
Mhm.
price of issuance.
Right. I mean, the project cost, as we estimated, was 5.8, correct?
Yeah,
Mayor?
5.8 million is construction cost.
Okay.
Yeah. So-
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thanks, Kevin. Thank you, John. Sorry.
Yes, sir.
Is that all you have, sir?
It was.
Is that all you have? Sir?
Yes, sir. And that's all I've got.
Any question for John?
Yeah, that building number 8, the Rogers Fire Station, how much did that building cost?
Yes, sir. So that was 257 a square foot, but that completed a year ago, and so it was estimated about 2 years ago. So we're trying to give a range, kind of in the
What did that building cost? You don't have that. I got to add it.
I don't think he heard.
17,000 square feet basically then, or how was the square footage of it?
Oh, the square footage is about 11,500 square feet. Yes, sir.
Thank you, John.
Yes, sir.
Or anybody else? I'm sorry. Thank you, sir.
Actually, I do have a quick question.
Okay, come back,
Sorry.
John.
Could is there enough space? I don't know if you can go back to the picture of the original where you had shaded in what was going to be the bays and what was going to be is there room on this piece of land to make two completely different facilities, a police and a fire?
I don't think there is without them adjoining.
Because didn't you say that combining them, so what was that, 2,500 square feet? Because they're shared spaces,
Yes, ma'am.
but you do not think that on that property you could do you could build two separate buildings?
I don't think so, just because of the way that the fire trucks have to their turning radius is really, really wide. And so just in order to get them, you can kind of see the drive on the right side of the image.
Mhm.
That'd be where the fire trucks come in. And then they would make a pretty wide turn to get into the back of the apparatus bay. And so I think having that feature, which is being able to pull in from the back and then directly out of the front.
Yeah, it's important. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, yes, ma'am.
Any more questions, council? Mr. Eichmann?
Mayor, would you like me to read the ordinance?
Please.
Okay, so first up, let me check and make sure I got the right one. Got ordinance number 2021-05-950. An ordinance amending ordinance number 131 in order to authorize the net collections of the 1% sales and use tax levied within the city of Tontitown, Arkansas to be used first as needed to repay bonds issued from time to time by the city and approved by the voters to finance and refinance capital improvements, with the balance to be used to improve municipal water and sewer services and prescribing other matters relating thereto.
Council, I have a motion to approve.
I make that motion.
Second it.
Any discussion?
And the reason I'm for this, the longer we put this off, I mean, it's a chunk of money. But as you've said just a while ago, it'll be up to the voters ultimately. It's not on us. It's just something we put before the voters. And I'm not a very smart guy. You all can attest to that. But
No comment.
if our interest rate goes up just a little bit over the course of time, if we were talking, a little money, it's not much, but when you start talking about $14 million, a little bit of interest is going to make a heck of a lot of difference in the payment. So, and somebody once told me, and I don't know if he was a wise man or not, but if you're not in debt, you're not progressing. It didn't make sense to me then, but I guess that's where I'm at. I think we ought to do it.
Yes, sir.
Well, I'm with Larry there, but me just like to go buying a new pickup. I'm not afraid to admit I got to finance that dude for a while. It's a lot of money. And this is a lot of money here too. But if we vote this, if the people vote this down, like the mayor said, it's up to them. We put it off a year, then that's going to add probably another million, $500,000, $750,000 to this bill in another year. And like I said, it's a lot of money, but if we don't go in debt, I ain't been able to get out there in my backyard and dig up $50,000, $100,000. It just don't come like that. And by this 2021 down here, have we collected $413,000 already, Mayor?
Close, I think.
On this one sheet here you give us?
Yes, sir.
And that's up, right now, it's up 24, well, almost 25%. But whether it stays that way, I don't know. But if you don't take a gamble, I don't know, it's not gonna get any better. It's gonna get worse. My opinion. So
Well, I am struggling a little bit. I absolutely believe 100% that we need a new fire department. I mean, and I'm excited about it. I think we need one sooner rather than later. And I don't want to wait on that at all. I'm struggling a little bit with a combo building. I don't love the idea of our fire department, police department. They're just two completely separate entities. They serve different purposes. I don't even know how we would remedy that. I just do not love the idea of that being a combined facility. That is a lot of money. That scares me to death. This is my first huge financial city council. And so I've not taken it lightly to just vote on a big number. So I guess my struggle with wanting to approve this is absolutely not that I'm not for. We need to improve our water system. We need to improve our sewer system, and we need a new fire department. So I'm for all of those. I do not love the public safety facility being combined. And I wish that we would have thought about this on the front end, but I would have loved to seen us put some towards streets. So, which that's my fault. I was telling the mayor, I said, I'm really good at voting on something and then later thinking back on, I should have really thought that through. But that's where I stand. I don't know. I'm not feeling confident on a vote for the positive on this. Not that I'm not for them, but I'm not feeling good about the number, and I'm not feeling good about the combined building. So anyway.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Yeah, I'm totally on board with what Amber's saying. I totally agree that paying off the bonds and for the water and sewer is definitely good. I think a fire department is definitely needed, but I think the police right now for 3 to 5 years are fine in this half of the building. They have the Sally Port, they have plenty of space. I think we should do the bonds, the fire department, and put the rest into streets, because our streets are totally just in bad shape. And my other problem I have with this is I was the one that got this tabled. And have you contacted anybody individually, Mayor, of the other council members between then and now?
I spoke to 3 of them.
But not me. And I was the one that got it tabled. And now you're going to bring this up and we got to vote. I did go for research and I found information, but I just got it handed to me tonight. But I'm supposed to vote on this right now.
Mhm.
I don't appreciate that. And I kind of lost faith and trust in you, sir, to be honest with you.
Feelings mutual.
There you go. That's my opinion on this building, though. I'm totally on for the bonds, for the water and sewer and the fire department. I feel the rest should go into streets.
Anybody else?
Boy, I've spent a lot of time on this. The last 3 days, I think I've spent 1 hour on my real job. That's a lot of time in the last 3 days. And I know, Mayor, you've made yourself available, and I appreciate it very much to answer questions. One of the things I like about this council, and this council in particular, and I love these people, is that there are 6 very different people with 6 very different backgrounds, with 6 very different skill sets, 3 very different ways of communicating. And what I wanted for myself was to sort of take it in from John. I had a chance to talk to John. I appreciate that. I talked to our city attorney, Justin. I talked to Kevin. I talked to Chief Jennison. I talked to Chief Witzigman. I talked to Pat Pianalto. I mean, I've spent a lot of time on this. I even spent some time talking to Bishop a little bit. Thanks. Appreciate it. And boy, I'm having a hard time. Part of the reason why I wanted it tabled last week was so that we had a couple weeks to do research instead of having it all jammed in. And, honestly, part of it, I feel like it's just so fast. And I'm struggling with why we're trying to speed through a yellow light. I know the interest rate thing is a big deal, and I have said it, but the Federal Reserve Bank, based on their last meeting, which was April 28th, they're saying they are not raising interest rates for the next 32 months. So if they're not raising interest rates for the next 32 months, although I appreciate the concern for both Larry and Arthur, I think you're right that interest rates going up on an amount this big is going to be problematic. I'm not concerned about that for the next 32 weeks. And all I was asking for was 14 days, right? And we didn't get it. And I know it costs some money for us to be here, not a lot. It's a drop in the bucket comparatively, but that's one of the concerns I have. And then PDFD combined, I know you guys have been there too. I know you guys have put work into this, but if you look at PD, it's not a perfect space for them. And that's in large part because they have a combined space with City Hall. And because they tried to make accommodation to be here, it's all cattywampus down there. It doesn't quite work. And I don't want the same thing to happen to Chief Witzigman and Chief Jennison, that they both end up with the fuzzy end of the stick and the whole stick's fuzzy. I'm just concerned about that. I absolutely want, I think I even want a bond. I hate debt, and I think I want a bond. And I absolutely know, I spent time talking to James Clark. I know we need to spend money on water and sewer. Absolutely. And those combined are about $6.5 million. The public safety piece is another 6.75 to get that building. A refunding of the previous debt that we have is another 3.6 million. That's $16.8 million, but it's going to be almost $8 million in interest costs over the time period. Now, I don't have a better plan right now, but I was hoping we had a little more time to come up with a plan. And I am very much concerned about roads and streets. And just yesterday, I had 4 different citizens ask me specifically about roads and streets. I'm on the street committee. So is Mr. McCartney. We were given $100,000, and it's just a drop in the bucket. So I don't want to say that I don't want to do it, but I think Amber said it best. I just can't quite get there right now. And I would rather this had been tabled till we could talk at Cal and we could look at it more. But I don't want PD and the fire department to have this combined space. 2 weeks ago, my 13-year-old son got his foot stepped on by a horse, literally ripped his boot apart. I could see his toes. Same week, my daughter, who's 9, needed a new pair of church shoes. Now, what I could have done is taken him down to the store and bought a pretty pair of pink sparkly boots that they could share, that the size is halfway in between. And that's part of what I'm concerned about here. I desperately want the fire department to get exactly what they need. I desperately want the police department to get exactly what they need, but I don't think this is the best way to do it now. And I know the 6 of us and the mayor could come up with better solutions than this. And I'm just concerned about just how quickly we're pushing it through. So I can't, in good conscience, vote yes on this tonight. And I understand I may get outvoted. What's new? But I'm just not there yet. And I'm sorry I'm not there yet, but I'm just not there yet.
Thank you for your comment. Anybody else?
So last but not least, Larry, I think you're a step ahead of me. I'm definitely not the smart guy here, but I'm gonna give my opinions on this as well. I definitely look at each of the projects that have been listed in this issue that are all needing to be done. The water, the sewer projects are really a no-brainer. We really need to get those done in a timely fashion. It's hard for the city to grow when we don't have the infrastructure. So by adding the infrastructure, that will allow us to grow even faster, hopefully with more retail businesses, which will help feed this. As far as our emergency services building, it would do the job, I feel, that we need. I know we're probably going to end up adding more officers as time goes along, and I feel that they're probably not busting at the seams, but extremely close in their areas. All of those guys do a great job, but we've got to give them enough resources to do their job. And as far as the fire department, they are long overdue in getting a building repair. I know we spent $40,000 on a new roof, which is a quick fix, and they need more space. They need more facilities. They need more beds. They need they need more than I can go into. So I feel that this is a reasonable request to go through and allow the citizens to vote on this bond issue. Again, it's us putting it out there for the citizens to vote. So we can push that out, let them make the decision and go through with the bond issue if that's what they so choose. I am for the bond issue. Is it perfect? No, but nothing in this world is. I said before, what I would like to see is a nice shiny department on the road that's visible for the public to see. But you have to be realistic and say, what do we have today to work with? Well, this is what we have today to work with and do the best that we can do. And I feel that this is the best that we can do today. So today, I would like to see that pushed through and voted affirmatively on and allow our citizens to vote on this. That's all.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Todd. What is your opinion on this building? I know you think it's a good fix for the city.
Well, we definitely need a new facility because we can't handle the growth right now. We don't have room for 24-hour staffing, which we're going to need probably within a year to 2 years. You know, the benefit of combined is we do get to share some aspects of it, a training facility and exercise room. Other than that, you know, we're completely different entities. So there's not a real benefit to having them combined other than that. You know, we are different, but we do need to have a station that will accommodate overnight staffing, larger apparatus. You know, you've been to our station. We only have a couple bays where we can fit larger trucks.
Right.
And so, you know, I think everyone realizes we do need a station, and it's up to you guys to figure the best path to get there.
Thank you, sir.
Mayor, can I add another comment?
Yes, ma'am.
Can I ask a question, Chief? Is that okay if I ask the chief a
Oh,
question?
No,
sure.
wait a minute. Amber's first.
Okay, go ahead, Amber. Ladies first.
Well, in what Jean was saying, I know that it is up to the citizens to vote. You know, ultimately it's up to them. And I am, to reiterate everything I've said, I am for the bond. I'm absolutely for it. I just am struggling with the public safety facility. And I didn't mean to leave the police department out, because obviously you're growing and you're hiring and you will need something new and bigger. So I did not mean to diminish that, but they will need to vote on it. But to Jean's comment, we're basically only presenting them with just one option, and that is a combined building. And I know we can't give them multiple options, but I just wish that we could, you know, and I know the mayor, I know that you guys have spent a lot of time on this. So, and therefore we're backtracking, but I wish that we could hash out maybe some other options to doing separate facilities, and, you know, at some point. Obviously the fire station now, and some going to street. So I just wanted to reiterate that I'm not against, we do need a new police department, but so anyway, but I
Thank
was
you,
just commenting to Jean's, you know, presenting it to the citizens for them to vote, but they're only getting one option, and it's what we pass. So anyway, go
Thank
ahead.
you, ma'am. Mr. Burris.
Okay, so if I understand you correctly, it's not necessarily ideal to share the space, right? Because, I mean, you guys are both public safety, but it's very different in
Yeah,
what you do, right?
Completely different. Chief, am I overlooking something other than
Both of you can be completely honest.
Think they're not?
I mean,
Yeah, I think she's insinuating something. I don't know.
I think there's a lot of pros and cons to it. I think the cost saving aspect of having the building on one site is a major pro to it. The cons are, there's a lot of, we are two different entities. Obviously, we work together on a lot of different things. Police departments have a lot of different requirements as far as secured buildings and access points. And, there's an incident that happened in Fayetteville a couple of years ago. And one of my big pushes is to make sure that we're safe at our police department and in our own department. We're probably, not to throw Todd in under the bus or anything, but police department's going to be very easy to work with on this. If you all choose to put us on the same location, the best needs for the city is both of our interest. That's what we strive to do every day. So if sharing a location is what's best, then I think we can put differences aside as far as being a fireman and a policeman and share a building. But
they're not sleeping together.
No, we don't. My opinion on it is just what's best for the city. If cost is an issue, that's an option to save cost. If, I've talked to a few of you, and my push and fight in this is like Mr. Burris said, is when this building was built, there was a design for the police department. But to make this building work, some of those changes happened on our end. Moving forward, I don't want to get into a building that in 5 to 8 years we have to move out and build another one. What we build next for both of us should be what we stay in for the foreseeable future. And working, with architect and some designing of this, can it work? Yes. And is there better options? I don't know. I think that's what y'all got elected to decide on.
Chief, if you, in your opinion,
So we're back to Ms. Ibarra now.
sorry. If in your opinion, at what point do you think you might outgrow where you currently are? If you could give it in years or time, or at what point would you think, okay, we've got to have a new facility? Do we have time?
The struggle for us on that end of the building, are we busting at the seams? No, we have very large offices. Our problem is that the design of that end of the building is not as a police department. The office space that we have had to move some things around to create more office space. Our detective is in a room that's extremely large, and there's one desk in there. It was our gym workout room. We moved that equipment into the garage to accommodate that. The needs of our department more so fall in line of having a building that is a police department.
Mm-hmm.
It's very hard for me to put a time frame on it. In the aspect of, are we running out of room? Yes and no. We can make accommodations and make this work without question. It's just a matter of how far are we going to go on that. At one point before we made some changes, I had 5 to 6 officers sharing one office. We have our front desk office where Danielle works. There's my office and the captain's office and a patrol room. So realistically, there are only 2 office spaces. And that makes it a challenge as we grow and move forward. There's things that we don't have here at all as an interview room. Our BAC room for breath tests for DWIs is on the other side of our secured access door on this side of the building. So the layout is what's a challenge to us. It's hard to put, to answer your question, it's hard to put a time frame on this, as I feel that our department is teetering on, we're a small department now, whereas it could be 2 months, it could be 2 years that we are moving to a mid-sized department and onto a larger department. I try to look at our calls for service and justify the needs for these officer positions. Officer safety is the first thing that I'm going to look at. But to justify the money for these positions, we need to have the calls, we need to have that to support it. So it's difficult to throw. I can't look at another city and compare our growth to another city to have an idea of where Tontitown's going to be in 5 years. You know, Danielle asked when we interviewed in her interview is where I saw Tontitown in 5 years, the police department. And I said, I could probably give you an answer in 5 years. The change in the growth that we have is so unpredictable. You know, it's difficult to answer. We could make this work. Absolutely. You know, when this was being built, we were in a wooden building out in the park. We had some great bonding moments in there. But, you know,
But it would be safe to say you would probably prefer your own facilities.
you know, like I said, there's pros and cons. We're for us, we don't live in the buildings. The ones that are in the office more is going to be myself. I'm going to be in the office the most. The offices for the officers are in their cars most of the time.
Let me chime in just a little bit. We keep talking about separation of buildings. There is separation of facilities. It's not like the fire department is going to be sitting at the chief's desk drinking their coffee in the mornings. They have their own facilities. They're just attached together under a same roof. It's no different than what our architect just showed us set up in Rogers, Rentonville, I believe it was, where their fire station is connected to their police station up there that they designed and built.
Are those connected, John?
And it's no different. Let me finish. It's no different than going down to Farmington in the fire and police department that we went and toured not more than a month ago, that they're attached facilities. So they're buildings that are attached, and really truly, if you go to the city of Springdale, they're redesigning everything in Springdale. But for the last 19 years, their city administration offices were attached to their police department. Matter of fact, you go a step further, they even had their jail attached to it. So prisoners were walking through basically City Hall to get into it. So this is not a new concept. We're not reinventing the wheel here. And to take it a step further, we've brought both our chief and our operations chief up here to talk about this a little bit. When we first started talking about these projects, I brought both of these guys into my office and I set them down and I said, look, what if we combine this deal? I need to know from you guys whether it's going to work. Because if it's not going to work between these two guys, it's not going to work between the people that work underneath them either. So they had to reach out to the people that worked with them and ask them, are we going to get along with each other? Are we going to be able to share this lot? The response to me at that time was, yeah, we can make this work. The property kind of come up unexpectedly, and I think we got lucky enough to get a piece of property that it would all fit on, because really, truly, the property was found after the fact, after deciding on all of this, if I remember right, because we just purchased it just, last week? So the idea of combining these was way before we ever bought this piece of property back here and talked about. So, and not to diminish what each one of you all said, I truly respect each and every one of you as far as your opinions on what you think that needs to be done with this. But again, I stress to you that at the end of the day, we are putting this forward to the citizens of Tontitown to tell us whether they think that we're right or we're wrong. And if they, in their infinite wisdom, decide that we're wrong, then so be it. We regroup. We try to do something else to make it all work and make it all happen. Am I all knowing? Do I have a crystal ball that says this is in this moment in time, is this the exact right thing to do? Absolutely not. But I do think it is the right thing to do for this body to allow your citizens for you guys to have enough trust in the citizens of Tontitown to make the right decision. Because those are the folks that elected you.
I got a question for these guys.
Sure.
How much, I know you guys said that you guys both were asked to compromise. How much of y'all compromise of what a true top of the line system would be for y'all? Your fire station, how many compromises have you made to make it a top notch or not?
Well, what we did, you know, the initial feasibility study, I tried to look at not what we need right now or in the next 5 years, but possibly 20 years down the road. So I basically thought worst case scenario or best case, however you look at it, you know, I initially had 5 double stack bays and we went down to 3, which we could work. As I've told several people, you know, that's not to say 5 years from now, because of annexations or something else, we don't need a second station in a different location. Either case, that may happen, whether we build a 3 bay or a 5 bay, that still may happen.
Well, I agree with that one. If you needed to expand, you would want another location. You would want to add 2 bays onto that building.
You know, that's hard to say. A lot of it is contingent on our response time
How long it takes
from
you
this
to get to.
station and where our growth is.
Should be predominantly off to the west, right?
Yes, I would,
Well,
west or north.
It depends. I mean, it depends on where we annex. I mean, right now that we have options that we have looked at, that yes, obviously the western side is what we need to be looking at foremost, because we got the highway there and we have and less to maintain. But we do have options to go to our southern regions if we go out Harmon Road and go south in those areas. So, you know, like Todd says, it's all based on response time. A lot of it's based on ISO ratings of what we need, you know, even equipment that we might need. I mean, Todd hits me up every day for a ladder truck and I keep squashing it. Do we need a ladder truck right now? No, because we're partnering with other cities to bring us ladder trucks. So we don't need one right now. But to answer Mr. Dowden's question, I think, yes, both of these gentlemen have compromised because we had to get costs down.
Well, I understand that, but like I say, right now, we don't have to do both. We could give the fire department 100% top of the line facility in 3 to 5 years. We could do that with the police too. Instead of both of them, instead of building a building it's not really up to state of the art building for either one of y'all. I would hate to do that to you.
On Christmas Day, if you get to tell me what you want for Christmas, is this it?
I'll answer for them. No.
Okay. So if my son wants a bow and arrow and my daughter wants a kitty cat, and so I buy them both a scooter, I say, do you guys want Christmas presents or don't you?
Mm-hmm.
You can have a kitten. Good luck.
And I absolutely agree with your analogy on that. It's because you're the dad and you are ultimately the decision maker and what is going to be necessary for their lives. And unfortunately, in this case, I have to play dad to them because every budget season I get this Christmas list, as you call it, of everything they want. And it's my task that I have to cut it down to present to you to be able to afford it.
I totally get it. So you've said some amazing things tonight. They're brilliant. They're right on, spot on target. We've got long-term effects. They're going to last 50 plus years.
Mm-hmm.
We've got a responsibility to speak on behalf of the citizens because it's a representative form of government.
That's right.
So you're also right that, you know, when you talk about trusting the citizens of Tontitown, I absolutely do. But there's a representative form of government. What I'm afraid of is if we put this out there, that they go, well, okay. And unfortunately, City Attorney Justin Eichmann just told me on Monday, it's really important that we're unified on this. And I know you feel that way too. We're not. It sounds to me right now, Amber is a no. I don't mean to speak for her. I'm a no, Don's a no, it sounds like. That's 3 out of 6 that aren't cool with it. So what we're going to do is trust the citizens of Tontitown to go vote on something that half of your city council members aren't okay with in its current iteration. I desperately want to be unified. Desperately want to be unified. And I disagree with Gene, although I almost never disagree with Gene. He said he thinks that it's the best thing for right now. I don't think it's the best thing, and I don't think it's the best thing for right now. I think the 6 of us can do better than this, but we can't do better than this when we're so quickly trying to jam it through. And I still don't understand why it's so quick. So I'm concerned about that. I know that as a side note, you gave us the city sales and use tax collections, which I appreciate. You can see the numbers. They went up 2.4, 6%, up 11.6, up 17.7, 9.28, 24.75. My estimate for this year, based on the current numbers, is that it's going to go down a little bit, 2.68%. And I suspect that the point here is to show us it keeps going up, 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 up. It currently looks like it's trending down a little bit. I don't know what that means. And I don't even know that it matters because my concern isn't necessarily the bond. My concern is I don't think it's the right solution to give the fish a bicycle.
I respect your comments.
Thank you. And I respect your comments.
Thank you.
And I think you're spot on in a lot of it.
Mr. Ackman? Yes, sure.
Reading tea leaves, which I'm not good at, but I can see we've had, everybody's kind of spoken. And I think we might want Mr. Bowman to weigh on this, because he just texted me and kind of reminded me, we have, in the course of this, we have an ordinance and a resolution and an ordinance, right? That's the way that it's structured in order to do this repurposing of the tax, to call for a vote and to allow for the issuance of the bonds. Typically, in a lot of settings that we deal with when we pass an ordinance, you can have a situation where if the mayor can be the deciding vote to pass something, he can vote. It's not really breaking the tie. It's if the vote is required in order to reach that threshold. And on the ordinance, there could be a situation where you have the three and the mayor votes. However, Ryan texted me a while back ago while we were sitting there and said the resolution that has a referral to the voters, that requires a vote of 4 of the council. And so I wanted the council and for everybody to be aware of that. We have 3 items on the agenda, 2 of them which are ordinances and 1 of them which is a resolution. So Ryan, are you on, and can you hear me and confirm whether that's the case and maybe correct what I said?
Yes, I am on, and you were spot on. I'll add one thing. This is a very specific statute that allows the city council to, after you adopt an ordinance, you can refer that ordinance to the voters with a 2/3 vote of the council. So that is what Mr. Eichmann is referencing, and that would be the resolution 951R that is referring ordinance 950 to a vote of the people. And so, as he mentioned, because of the way the statute is written, that would require a 2/3 vote to adopt that particular resolution. So a little bit of a quirk in our state law.
So one thing that I think you all would have to do is keep that in mind in your discussion and your deliberation, is that in order to have that referral, you need 4 votes of council members, while the ordinances are treated a little differently. So, are there any questions? I know it's maybe a little confusing, but procedurally, we want to make sure we're absolutely accurate on this.
Then, I don't know, you understand all I need to know. But if we pass this ordinance and turn this resolution down, what happens then?
I might have Ryan jump in on that one, because I haven't faced that issue before.
I guess my recommendation would be, if you don't think you're going to get 2/3 on the resolution, then I would not recommend that you adopt the ordinance 950. And so maybe preliminarily you could do a vote just to see if you got the 2/3 vote to adopt the resolution. Because frankly, if you adopt 950 but you don't refer it to the voters, then it really has no effect. And honestly, at your next meeting, I would ask that you simply come back and repeal 950, and we would have to start the process over once the council came to a consensus on the projects moving forward. So I would say you could adopt 950 and then not be able to refer it, but frankly, that would be a waste of your time, and I would ask for you to repeal that at your next meeting.
Mayor, can I ask a question?
Yes.
I think that everyone is on board with the bond, from what I understand. I don't understand how all this works, so correct me guide me. Is there a way then, so to not keep kicking this can down the road, because I think we all have the same goal in mind, is there a way to come together and have a work session, a talk through, let's figure this out, let's come up with something that everyone is going to agree on, and then get this thing passed and pushed through?
It's called the Cal meeting.
Before that, if we don't want to keep pushing this through, if we don't want to wait till next week, if we want to give it a couple days, I don't know. I understand the sense of urgency. My goal is, we all have the same goal, but what do you think about that? Can we meet? Can we hash this out? Can we come up with ideas? Can we, what can we do? We want this to pass. I don't know that it necessarily will tonight, but what would you recommend?
Are you asking me? Well, by a show of hands, if I can, since it won't be a vote, how many are in favor of a fire station?
Of a
You
fire
mean-
station?
Of a fire station.
I'm, yes, fire station.
Okay, so everybody is good with a fire station, right? How many are good with an additional police station
Additional meaning combined?
combined? Raise your hand.
Not against having another police station, but now we just, at this time, we need to put the money somewhere else, so I'd have to say no.
Okay,
I would agree.
so we all consensually, if we can, agree to disagree on that one, right? Now, what I've heard that is new today that I've not heard before was
Streets.
streets. So by a show of hands, how many would like to add additional money to streets?
Oh,
It's not on the ballot right now, but I'm just saying if we could,
If we could.
right? So Ryan, you're still on the horn, right?
I am, yes, sir.
So I think we pretty much know that we all can agree to disagree with each other just a little bit here. That we don't think that the police station addition is going to be right. Corey, I'm absolutely not trying to throw you under the bus.
no,
None of us are.
no.
Okay. But to relick this calf over and change this to putting money towards street projects, what would I have to do?
You're
I
asking.
would just need to revise the documents. So what I hear you saying is that we would have a question for refunding of the 2013 bonds. A
How much
question,
money, hold on a second.
Yeah.
How much money are we putting towards the police station?
On the high end, it was close to 2 million.
6.75 million.
Well, I'm sorry, Mayor, I don't know. I mean, I just had that public facility number. so I
Just
just
Well, if
can't-
I've got it on a sheet here somewhere.
High one is one
On the high
five
end,
seven.
Tim, you got the sheets, you know the numbers, tell me.
Police,
1,579,000.
1,000,005. So,
that's on the high, yeah.
That's
Yeah.
the high number.
okay, so 1,000,005, Ryan. So if I changed the ballot issues, keep the fire department on there to be built back in the back. And then with council permission, I would still like to have storage for my police department back in the back because they need a secure place for
Is
their
this-
cars. Does
The
anybody have
existing
heartburn
building-
about that?
And the existing buildings are there and inside the fence, right? I don't have
Right.
a problem with that.
Okay. So if I can get you to rewrite this ballot issue to include 1.5 million to streets, can you have this to me in the morning? And here's why I asked council, and here's why I called this meeting tonight, and it was not to upset Mr. Downa, is I have 60 days to do this in which to get it on the July election.
And we want to do that.
There are other cities right now that are having July elections that we can be a part of that saves this city the money as far as going forward with an election.
Okay, that's the first time I've heard that. So how much does it save us to do that?
What is an election cost? Like 6,000, 7,000? Rough.
Probably, yes, sir. I mean, depends on how many polling sites. I mean,
Well, we only have one that we utilize.
So
here in
it would
Tontitown.
cost us 6,000 if we do it in July?
Johnson's doing there, and what the mayor's referring to, we're working with Johnson as well. Johnson's called their election for July.
Right.
And so there is some economy of scale to combining those. I don't know how much, but he's right.
But we can go together with other cities to host this election.
But
Right.
if it's $6,000, I mean, if we're doing all this to save $6,000, we're rushing through to save $6,000. It's like having $100 bill in my
Tim.
pocket and chasing after a quarter.
I'm not trying to rush. I'm trying to work a compromise.
I know, I totally get it. But even if you had this ready in the morning, I'd still want to look at the numbers. I'd still want to talk to Kevin. I'd
What
still wanna
I'm
talk to
saying
everybody.
is I'm going to commit to putting 1.5 million to street projects
I agree. I think that's fine. But is it
and still
enough?
keeping the fire department the same number as what we're building for them.
I hear you and I understand what you're trying to do. But again, I just feel like it's,
I'm not trying to rush you. I'm just trying to beat the clock.
I know you're trying to beat the clock. My point is, I don't think we need to beat the clock to save 25 cents.
Okay. Am I wasting my breath here?
I don't know. I hope not, but I think if you're trying to make it so that I can vote
Okay.
tomorrow, yes.
Ryan, can I have that done?
well, the only thing I would say is the ordinance has to be adopted by the council and the resolution and filed with the county clerk 60 days in advance. So
Right.
60 days from July 13th, the filing would have to be done tomorrow on May the 13th. So the ordinances and resolution would have to be adopted and filed in county business hours.
Right. So we'd have to meet, who all can meet tomorrow?
I can't.
No.
I can't.
Not tomorrow business day.
Okay. Larry?
No.
Okay, so half my council can't be here, so I don't have a quorum. All right, backtrack just a little bit more. So we put this off to August, but I need it changed to take out the police, put in the streets, 1.5 million. All right,
Yes, sir.
and then I'll have James work up the street projects. Now, here's what I ask of this council. I formed a street committee, and I have yet, and I've asked twice at two particular meetings for a report of what needs to be fixed. And I've yet to hear from anybody.
It's a very long list and a very small amount of money to fix it.
All we've been told from Mr. Clark was a few potholes. I said, really?
For real road projects, I've been kind of looking around the last week or so. Ballsinger is patchy. Barrington's already getting patchy.
Well, here's what I need, because this is what bond counsel is going to ask me for, is what project and what amount, right? I've already given you the amount, so I need the project to attach to it.
I think we can easily.
Morsani, I feel totally is gone. We need to redo
Okay.
Morsani.
So I want, I'm not trying to muddy the waters here on this
Mr.
meeting.
Apple has that information.
I want a street committee report within the next 2 weeks
No problem.
of what we got to have. So then we're going to change this bond project and we're going to move it to the August date. Fair enough?
Sure. Question for Mr. Fott. Mr. Fott, if we wanted to get more money out of this, how much more money can we get out of this? And you still feel comfortable?
Well,
Here's the dilemma, and I'm going to answer for him just a little bit.
Okay.
What we tried to determine with this bond project is Mr. Clark has received funding over the last several years from the 1 cent sales tax. In 2015, when I became mayor, the 1 cent sales tax generated $580,000. At that time, we were bleeding severely because we didn't have enough taps. Mr. Dowdna pointed this out the last meeting that we're right now close to break even. We're losing about $2,000 a month, but in lieu of that, we're making $1.4 million. So with this bond project, what I've tried to do to ensure that your water and sewer department still maintains viability in case something terrible happens is that they still have enough money in those accounts. So at the current amount of what, $17,350,000 is the total amount project in this game, that still allows Mr. Clark, if we don't sell another tap, sell any more water or anything, to generate $526,000 into their account. Out of that $526,000, Pat, I had him run the numbers, that still puts Mr. Clark over $300,000 to the good after he pays his expenses out of it. So I caution this council not to ask for more money because it jeopardizes Mr. Clark's ability that if he has something go awry. So that's why I hearken back to what we were going to spend on the police department, roughly $1.5 million. Let's keep it at that 1.5 million, even though I know 1.5 million will only build Fletcher. So let's do what we can with that amount of money, but let us go for grant funding for upcoming projects that supposedly, knock on wood, that the new Biden administration has promised everybody infrastructure projects. I can't guarantee it, but we are currently looking into applying for more grant funding for our streets. So let me try to do that.
Awesome.
We've already got $300,000 coming from the state through RDOT that we're going to be doing the overlay on Penalto Road and a bridge project that we're going to be working on with that $300,000 right there. So with that said, Mr. Falk, I turn it back over to you.
I agree with you, Mayor.
Thank you.
Can I ask a random question that does have to
I
do
think
with
you
the
just
bond?
dodged a bullet.
If we're building the fire department and it doesn't take near as much as what's projected,
Right.
can we use funds for future police projects?
You have to tie all this to the projects.
Okay, so it has to be for,
But what I can tell you is that I did ask Mr. Falk about if we don't use, say, and here's another deal that I plan on doing, if you guys will pass something on this, is to set up a committee to do the design, to do the legwork of building this fire station / police station, which no longer exists now. But having you guys try to get it done as cheap as I possibly can. And if we in fact save some money on it, according to Mr. Falk, we take those excess funds that we didn't use to repay that debt back to the bond.
That's correct.
Yeah, okay.
So we're not paying interest on the money.
Great.
Bar, and
Smart.
if my address,
Sure.
part of what you were saying, and maybe this would help clear up, and Mr. Bowman can add to it, but part of what you would ask the voters to vote on is our specific purposes. So there's a street question, as we're talking about now. There's a fire department question. There's a water question. There's a sewer question. So you can't, those are the only purposes that they can go for once it's voted on. So if there's
Gotcha.
anything left over, you can't put it to something else.
Gotcha.
But it's at the police department then.
No,
Right.
gotcha. Okay.
You know,
thank
but
you.
as the mayor says, if for some reason, you know, we issue the debt and you have $500,000 left over, you take that money, you use that to pay off debt in inverse order. So the longest maturities get paid off first. So in theory, you've got some money that you freed up, if you will. But
Right.
Gotcha. Okay.
So is that plan fair to everybody?
From the little bit I understand about it now, sure. But again, we need to look at it. But yeah, I appreciate it. I think you're doing a great job of being accommodative, both to our public safety officials and Mr. Clark and frankly to us. I appreciate that.
Anybody else?
No, yeah, I'm happy with
We're
that.
all good.
How do you feel, Doug?
Yeah, I'm good with that.
So it is my inclination that we don't need to go any further forward with this, and I can allow these fine gentlemen to go back to their lives. So I don't think I need to have comments from Alderman or myself or the attorney. So I'd ask for a motion to adjourn.
But Mayor, this is Ryan. Could I ask one follow-up question? I apologize.
Yes, sir.
Okay, for purposes of redrafting the ordinance, I want to make sure that we are deleting the portion of the ballot that says the public safety facility will contain the police department, correct?
Yes, sir.
It will only contain the fire station. So no portion of this new building will be used by the police department. Is that correct?
I can't guarantee that, but yes.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's important to know so that I can draft this ballot appropriately so that we either call it public safety so that it's used by both police and fire, or if it will not be used by the police department at all, then we will change it to a fire question, if that makes sense. So you and I can be in contact in the coming days to make sure that we get this drafted properly.
Mr. Bowman, why couldn't we call it public safety? If it's primarily for FD and then we use some of it for the PD,
For storage.
Yeah,
why can't we call it public safety then?
You can, if you know that going in, that you're going to allow some of this to be used for police
I see.
storage, then I can certainly draft it that way.
I see.
Well-
But since we don't know for
You're not
certain,
using that building for storage, you're using the property, right? The other
Right.
building. So it's not really about the building we're building.
Well, Ryan, we'll talk more about it in the coming days to get it lined out to where we make sure that it's on the ballot correctly, if that's okay.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
I'm with you. I don't want to deceive the public, and I know it's critical that we word it correctly to make sure we're not breaking any laws. So, and we'll talk further as a council too. So anybody else? Council, again, before, yes,
Would it give, I guess if it's being tabled, could we take a little bit more time to kind of try to work out some of these
yes.
concerns about maybe trying to separate police out and,
Right now, the police is off the table.
Okay.
Well, so may I chime in? Meaning room for two different facilities?
Well, or just some kind of physical separation or just trying to work out some of these issues to where,
We'll talk tomorrow.
okay. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
I got one question more for you, please. You said that station number 8 of Rogers was 11,500 square feet. Is that what you're saying? The station you had in your demo? Well, if you do the math on that, even at the 310 a square foot, that's 3.5 million. Why would our building be at 10,000 square feet be $1 million more than that on the high end?
well, remember that's a combined building of 17,000 square feet is what you were talking
No,
about.
but this is broke down just the fire part.
Okay,
right
you're
there.
just the fire. Let me look at that.
I just thought, I mean,
John, you
if
have
we're
eagle
saving
eyes.
money, it goes back to the bond, so it really don't matter to me. I just,
Well, he's showing a low of 4 million and a high of 4.9.
on the
Yeah.
fire only showing a low of 3.5 and a high of 4.3. And And if you do the math, 11,500 times 310, that's the high end. What we're figuring now is only 3.5 million.
Are you referring to the construction costs, sir?
Yeah, on your breakdown sheet here where it says fire right here, per square foot, you got a total high and a low range.
Right.
Just
So
on the
on
fire
the,
only portion.
on the fire there, since it was estimated 2 years ago, and I'm trying to escalate this 2 years into the
Well, I'm
future.
using today's number that you got on your sheet now of the high range of
Sure.
310 a square foot.
Let's see.
Do you want to see that spreadsheet, John? I've got one here you can borrow.
I mean, it goes back if we save money anyway, so it's really kind of mute. I just was trying to get the numbers figured out and I wasn't understanding.
Yeah.
He's just saying, if you look at that, and just that portion. How many square feet is that, Don?
It's
Yep. So the low,
9,858.
the low I had is 250 on this. And so the low is actually lower than what the cost was for that other station.
Well, no, I'm just doing the other station at the 310 and it's coming out, yeah, about your low, so. But that one's bigger than our building.
I think I may have it. Well, so the 250 would be less than what the fire station was, the one we completed a couple years ago, or estimated a couple years ago. So
And the mayor said that those were combined, or was that a combined PD fire department?
The one up in Bentonville that you showed was.
it had dispatch. It had dispatch
Oh, it's
and
dispatch only.
and police were in the same building, but it's not an. I mean, I think. You know, it's. I don't think it's unusual to combine. You know. So.
Well, anyway, that's off the table, so we don't have to talk about that. So anyway, before we adjourn, council, I do appreciate you again. I've said this time and time again, that we can agree to disagree and we can debate, which is, I think, is good. And more importantly, I don't think that we always have to agree on everything. So thank you for your time. I appreciate you. I hope we've made significant progress tonight on coming forward together in these projects. And by all means, if you have any kind of questions that I can answer for you, please call me, reach out. I don't mind meeting you up here. I've met several of you up here already to talk to you about any of these projects going forward. So with that, I ask for a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Thank you.
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Thank you, folks. Appreciate you.
Chief and Chief, Captain, thank you. Mr. Sfott, Langham, Eichmann, Bowman, thank you so much. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, fellow council members.